Now, I'm going to tell you about a dirty trick used by, well, it's used not just by the Maysville Police, it's used by pretty much any dirty CO in the state, any dirty law enforcement in the state, not just in this state. It was used out in California too. Basically, the reason for that is that they're using the public sector unions as a Silk Road for criminal behavior, for assaults for hire, and that kind of thing. And it makes sense. I mean, who knows better how to find people that are willing to commit crimes for money than a cop or a CO? Nobody. And of course, if that person gets caught, who's going to believe their word over the word of that cop or that CO? No one. No one's going to believe them over that CO or cop. Not going to happen. So that's why they do it. Now, what they do is they drug you against your will, and often without your knowledge. And a lot of people think that's ridiculous, don't want to believe it. I was calling various TV stations, and they said they didn't believe it. The thing is, it's stupid for them to say that it doesn't make sense, because these TV stations were all reporting on that time about Bill Cosby. Okay, Bill Cosby was supposedly drugging women against their will, without their knowledge, for decades, during a time period that included the time when he was the biggest TV star in the country, and nobody knew about it, according to them. Yet, dirty cops doing it to people that nobody in the media is going to care about somehow isn't going to happen. That doesn't make any sense. To dismiss it out of hand in one situation, when the situation that they are saying with fact, it's a fact that happened in, is even more bizarre and makes even less sense. It's just ridiculous. But I'm going to tell you, basically they have three major methods. One is ingested. Usually it's beverages, liquid foods, salsa or condiments, that kind of thing, but something they know you're going to eat a lot of at a time, liquid form. They do that a lot. Another is gas. That's sometimes ether, which leads to the last one, which is injected. Usually the way they'll get, obviously in order to do that, they have to make sure you're sleeping, and that's why they use the ether, to make sure you don't wake up while you're being injected with the poison or the drug. Now, as far as the ingested, their favorites to use, what I've seen, be methamphetamine. Makes you irritable, makes you angry. They can make you look like you're crazy. If you're talking about the crimes that they're committing, things they're doing, especially ones that people are going to want to ignore, like drugging people against their will. I say, oh no, that would never happen. Now, before I go on further, let me mention something else. A lot of people are going to discount that because they're going to say, well, cops or COs wouldn't do such a thing. They wouldn't do wrong. Okay, two things to point out to you. Los Angeles Rampart Division. 3/4 of that department was indicted on felony charges. They were dealing so many drugs on their own that they had their own brand. They had their own brands and their own logos. They were manufacturing. And then in addition to that, there's District 2 in Chicago. At one time, highest ranking member was a man named John Burge, who repeatedly got promotions because he was so good at getting confessions. They didn't question, the electrical burns and other injuries that the people he got the confessions of had on them. They were just proud that he got all those confessions. So these were not people who were doing it when they'd already committed multiple felonies, federal felonies, meaning that the local prosecutor that they commit perjury for, tamper with evidence for, wouldn't be able to protect them because it'd be a federal court, not the state court. And that's what's going on here in this case. They're going to be reported for federal felonies, federal crimes, and they have no cover in a federal court like they would in a state court. But I'll move on. After methamphetamine, another one of their favorites that I've seen is blood pressure medicines, specifically lowering your blood pressure really low, make you dizzy, make you weak. They love doing that one. Then in addition to that, and we got an idiot with a loud stereo, but that's okay. All right. Now they also like using diabetes drugs. They love dropping your blood sugar. That causes a little bit of fuzziness of thought, a little bit of weakness as well, some dizziness, but mostly just fuzziness of thought, trouble with memory, and then lastly, some, I don't know how to do this one. This one is causing high blood sugar. It's something I've heard doctors talk about called insulin resistance, where your body is not really removing the sugar from your blood. It's not really dropping your blood sugar the way it should. Now, these are not just picked at random. They just randomly grab one. The effects that I mentioned seem to be effects that they specifically want to cause. It's what they are trying to do. They assume that you're using these drugs. They can use these drugs like the buttons on a PlayStation control pad or something. I don't know. But I mean, that's what you got to be, kind of a megalomaniac psycho to pull something like that anyway. I mean, you got to be just a crazy, just a complete psycho to try to do that. But that's what we're talking about. Cops and COs, they are complete psychos. They are megalomaniac psychos. And they especially hate, guys like me, little college boys that whose mere existence reminds them of what they're not. I'm something they don't like because I'm something they want to be and aren't. And so they hate me for it. That's just the way they are. Taylor was right. Haters gonna hate. But I'll move on. Now, let's get on to the gaseous poisons that they use, or drugs. Well, first I'll start with one that isn't actually a drug or poison. They seem to use some kind of spores or something to cause respiratory sickness. I've suffered that myself. They've used that against me. They were doing that to my air conditioner a lot right before I left for Cincinnati last winter, or well, still last fall. I'd say early fall, yeah, last fall. Again, now they also use marijuana smoke. They use pot smoke a lot. It causes some memory loss, and of course it causes hunger too. I think they're getting a form that's specifically grown for medical use, a strain specifically grown for medical use, because it won't give you the laughter or get you high, but it does cause the memory problems and the hunger. And you're wondering, how do I know for sure that's happened? Well, because they were doing it when I was out in San Diego. I was out there in San Diego. They did that. I noticed I was really hungry all the time. Now it's legal for medical use out there in California. And the thing is, I just went out. I went to Walmart, got a single panel test. No, wait, it was Target. Went to Target, got a single panel test. Pot. Used it. Proved, yeah, I was right. I hadn't smoked pot since 2002. Not willingly, anyway. So there you go. Now, also, meth or speeds, also smoke. They use that smoke from that as well. That's the other one they use. I already mentioned the ether they use to make use of to injections. They use that too. Now, the last is the injected insulin. They use that also drop your blood sugar. They use a long-acting insulin. So no matter how much you eat, it's still going to affect you. It's still going to have the blood sugar and the headache and everything else, the low blood sugar and the headache and all that. And then another they use is immunosuppressive drugs that used by transplant patients. If you've been reporting their actions or fighting them, and you notice yourself sick a lot, getting sick when you normally wouldn't be, that could be it. They use that a lot. Last is epinephrine. It causes an increase in your heart rate. Now, it explains to me why I had chest pains a lot after reporting some of the dirty things they were doing. They were trying to give me a heart attack. They were trying to kill me with a heart attack. That's why I'm kind of glad that they finally threw that cement block on me. or tried to throw it on me. Missed, barely, but so I'm glad they threw it at me. Finally something overt and obvious that made it plain as day what they were up to. Finally spelled out. Now, obviously, some of these you can control. As far as the ones you ingest, that's easy. That's easy. You control what you eat or drink. Just keep an eye on it. If you're going to get beverages that you keep at the house, make sure it's canned, single serve only. Don't get something open and then come back and leave it open, out of your sight when you're out of the house. They'll break in, they'll have it messed with. And it's real easy to learn how to pick a lock. Real easy. If you don't have like actual security system, you're at risk. Because you can go online and learn how to pick a lock. There's a popular mechanics article on how to pick a lock. Okay, a mechanical lock. It's not that complicated to do. They could easily do that. It's not a big problem for them. Now as far as the injected, that's obvious too. Barricade whatever. Make sure it's physically impossible to get to you while you're sleeping. Make sure it's physically impossible, because that's when they do it. It's when you're sleeping, so make sure they can't get to you when you're asleep. Problem solved. Done. As far as the gases, be in a very well ventilated place. If you're in a small room, you can only be near a window or be right in the middle of the room, because things will be they'll gather around the walls and not dissipate as much, spread as well as in the middle of the room. They'll kind of disperse a bit. If you're in the middle of the room, will get right around you. Now, of course, some of these things can easily be tested for. Slow-acting insulin, that is not the same as the insulin your body makes. The insulin your body makes goes in, does its job, and disappears. Or it's pretty much done. It's the long-acting insulin that is an artificial, that's just produced in chemical plant. Nothing like the natural occurring insulin, chemically. It's a very different thing. It's a very different thing that they have. Now, of course, the others, the illegal drugs that they use, that's pretty obvious what to do. That's pretty obvious to test for. You can just go right out, buy a test for it. Go right out to the store, buy the test, take it yourself. If you haven't used it, you can get in there and find out about it. Now, here's the interesting thing. The immunosuppressive drugs. They are not exactly commonplace, except among transplant patients. So if someone really were looking into this, you could talk to them about it. Someone really is investigating, you can just tell them to look for a transplant patient and try to find the chain leading to them, to you. Try to find a connection between them, Dirty Cop, Dirty CO. Or possibly someone, a pharmacist or someone who works at the hospital, that would do it. It's not that hard to do. Now, of course, another thing they would do, now if they really wanted to, somebody really wanted to look into this, it'd be real easy to crack the corruption in the state wide open. Because Henderson County and Fulton County, they are known to be the harshest county jails in the state. Reason is, that's where they send people to shut them up. That's where they send guards to silence them, to break them. Now, if somebody wanted to, all they'd have to do is go in, find out who's been through there, find them who are willing to talk. And I guarantee, just looking at Henderson County, Fulton County, you can find the corruption in the rest of the state. You can find the ones who fought it the most already, which is why they were sent there. If somebody was really trying to fight the corruption in the state, the local corruption, and try to get all of it at once, that'd be it. That's all they'd have to do. But that's enough for now, because 14-minute video, longer than I really want to do, but that's it for now. Another one coming after this one.